Welcome to another episode of 843 TV. I'm your host, Annalisa Itkor. Today we are at Holy Trinity School in Beaufort, South Carolina, and joining us we have Reverend Chad Lawrence. He's the headmaster here at Holy Trinity. We also have Caroline O'Neill. She's a 10th grader here. And last but certainly not least, we have Brenton Bizard. He is a Board of Trustees member as well as the leader of the prayer ministry here at Holy Trinity. So stick around. We have more 843 TV coming your way where communities come to speak.
843 TV, where Bluffton comes to speak.
Where Spring Island comes to speak.
Where Hilton Head Island comes to speak.
Where Beaufort comes to speak.
TV,
where communities come to speak.
Welcome to another episode of 843 TV. We're here today on the campus of Holy Trinity School in Beaufort, and joining us we have Chad Lawrence. He is the headmaster, and we also have Caroline O'Neill. She is a 10th grader here at the school. Now, Reverend Lawrence, why don't you start by giving us a bit of an idea of the history of Holy Trinity?
Sure. Well, the idea for Holy Trinity was born out of a desire of several in this community who looked out into the educational milieu of the time and saw the need for a classical Christian school here in Beaufort. And what began as just a conversation and an idea really took root and sparked a strong desire and interest within this small group to see whether the Lord might have a school like this in mind for our community. They began to pray. They began to research other classical Christian schools, bring more into the fold. And what was very interesting about that group is that very, very few of them had children or even grandchildren who might be able to attend a school like Holy Trinity. It was more just a desire to offer this to the community at large. Eventually, they formally formed into a private 501c3 entity, looked for a headmaster, and they came knocking to me. I had been in education and was a minister at the Parish Church of St. Helena, and off the journey began. We had a year to find a location and to hire teachers and recruit students and choose a curriculum and go through all that one needs to start a school. And we started our first year right here in this building with preschool through 5th grade. We had about 100 students. And since then, we're now in our 6th year. We've added a grade a year according to our original plan. Now we're up to about 300 students.
Wow.
Preschool through 10th grade. We're on 2 campuses because we've outgrown this campus. And we look to add an 11th grade next year and then a 12th grade the following year. So it's really been a remarkable response of this community to a classical Christian education.
Now, you talked about sort of the nuts and bolts element of starting the school.
Sure.
But I would imagine, being that this is a classical Christian school, as you called it, that prayer must have played a role in it.
Oh,
so how
right.
did prayer play a role in the ground-up building of this school?
Often we would joke to ourselves that you have to be crazy, a little bit of crazy, have a little bit of crazy in you to start a school, and it is such an enormous venture. And we realized from the beginning that this was God's idea, and if it's His idea, you need to seek Him as to His ways to do it and His provision. And I would just say over the past 8-9 years, time and again we've been forced to go to that place of prayer, seeking God for His guidance, for His provision. And I believe that as long as Holy Trinity is in existence and doing what we are supposed to be doing, we will always be in that posture of need before God, necessitating prayer. And that is really the life of a Christian, which is continually seeking and praying to God.
Now, Caroline, I have to say, this is a lesson that you've definitely taken to heart because you've been the author of a blog called A Year of Prayer. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I realized how important the prayer ministry was to Holy Trinity, and this year we really kind of stepped that up with the addition of a prayer request box in the front of the building and a Join the Journey festival. So prayer is just, it really contributes to the warmth and like genuine care for every single student in the school. And to know, like as a student, that somebody out there is praying for you, for your success, for your future, is such an important part of the environment here.
It absolutely is, and I can certainly attest to the fact that that will carry through in your life. And I'm actually rather interested, how do you feel the impact of attending a school like this is going to carry into your adulthood?
Well, hopefully I'll be able to do something like this, like sponsor the school or pray for future children here when I'm an adult, and now even, but just kind of the example of prayer and like selfless prayer for others that's being set by the adults helping this school is really an example that I want to follow.
It sounds like it's having a very positive impact on you.
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
wonderful. Now, you talked a little bit about, that prayer element impacting the community, and I know that you called upon the community this past fall to come out and support the school, and you and I actually met for the first time at that event. You were out running your little heart out.
rather red-faced when we spoke.
But you also had an amazing guest at that event. Tell us a little bit about that.
We did. We were blessed to have the Reverend John Choldao from the South Sudan join us. I met John in seminary. He is from the South Sudan, and when Sudan went through the great turmoil that it did several decades ago, John was actually caring for his family cattle when his village was attacked, and he and thousands of others, what are called the Lost Boys of Sudan, were forced to flee for their lives to neighboring countries as refugees. Many of them died over that hundreds of mile journey, but John survived. And when I heard his story in seminary, I was just floored at this man and what he had been through, and his tremendous faith. Since seminary, God has called us both to start schools as Anglican priests, albeit in very different scenarios. I'm here in beautiful Beaufort by the Bay. He's in South Sudan in some very difficult circumstances, but we're both trying to raise leaders for the generation to come in the nations where we are. And we had the opportunity for him to come, and he led the prayer walk component of our Join the Journey fundraiser. Just to think that our students got to walk and pray with a saint of God, a man like John, just brought such warmth to my heart, and what a blessing to have him. And I'll tell you, he was like a celebrity here. Kids, when they saw him, and it wasn't just kids, parents, when they saw him, they just flocked to him like bees on honey, and you saw his patience and his love as he just cared and spoke to every single one in turn. What a blessing to have him. It wasn't easy getting him here, but
I'm sure. Yeah, I was very honored to meet him. You're right. His presence and he really emanated a real true spirit. It was wonderful.
absolutely.
Well, we will be back in a few moments with more 843 TV, so stick around.